Okay, this is the review for the Unit 7 test pre-AP. I'm not going to do every single problem. I'll just do a little bit of each one, and then you can check the website for the full key to check your answers. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to do is number 2, and you're just adding polynomials. So I'm pretty much just looking for like terms. I notice that this has an x to the 4th times y, and this also has an x to the 4th times y. So those are the two that I'm going to combine, and that gives me negative 7, x to the 4th, y. Then I'm also then going to look for my next ones. I notice that this has a plus, and then an xy, and this has also has an xy. So 14xy and negative 8xy will give you 6xy. And then the last thing to combine would be this 3x and this negative 2x, which gives me negative 2x, or negative 5x. Okay, so that's the answer for that one. All right, the subtracting, 3 and 4. I'll do number 3. So on number 3, I'm noticing that this has a negative, so I need to make sure I distribute it. Distribute, distribute, distribute. So this will end up becoming a positive 2x squared y. This becomes a positive 10xy. And that becomes a negative 7. So I'm just going to go back to what we were doing with the adding and combine like terms. So this has an x squared y. This also has an x squared y. So there's 3x squared y. This has an xy, and this has an xy. So plus 18xy. And then the negative 6 and this negative 7 just give me negative 13. All right, with the multiplying, let's take a look at number 6. So on number 6, I really just need to make sure I multiply each term in the binomial by each term in the trinomial. So the first one, I have 2x times 3x squared. That gives me 6x cubed. Then I have 2x times negative 4xy. That gives me negative 8, x squared, and then a y. And then 2x times 2y squared would then give me 4xy squared. Okay, so if I keep going, now I'm going to multiply the 5y. 5y times 3x squared will give me 15x squared y. 5y times negative 4xy will give me negative 20xy squared, and then the last one is 5y times 2y squared, which will give me 10y cubed. Okay, then I'm just going to combine everything. I'm going to start with the x squared y's. I notice I have one here, and I have another one here. So that gives me 7x squared y. And then I also notice I have an xy squared. So here's an xy squared. Here's another xy squared. That gives me negative 16xy squared. So I've done this one, I've done this one, I've done this one, I've done this one. And then I notice I have just the 6x cubed. And then I also just have the 10y cubed. Okay, dividing, or actually I'm sorry, 7 and 8, you're multiplying. I'm actually not going to do these. Just understand that you have to do 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. So you're doing FOIL. And again, over here, you are just doing FOIL. So just check the answer key on the website for the answers. All right, on these here, we're dividing polynomials. So I'm going to set my problem up. So this one, I would have x squared plus x minus 6 divided by x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 12. Okay, so x squared times x will give me x cubed, and then I'm going to multiply all of that. Okay, so x cubed plus x squared minus 6x. And then I got to subtract the whole thing. Okay, first term will always cancel out. That changes into a negative. That changes into a positive. So I have 2x squared plus 2x minus 12. Then I'm going to ask myself, what do I multiply x squared by to get 2x squared? Well, 2. And then again, I'm going to multiply the 2 by each of these terms. So that gives me 2x squared plus 2x minus 12. And once I flip all these signs, the whole thing cancels out. So your remainder is 0. So your answer is x plus 2. All right, number 10, it's the same concept, except you're only doing it twice. So again, check the answer key. All right, on this one right here, on 11 and 12, I'm just going to do number 11. So on number 11 here, these are really kind of basic. You could do the long division, but it's really easier just to kind of go through and divide your coefficients and subtract your exponents. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. X cubed and x gives me x squared. 6 divided by 6 is 1. X squared and x would just give me an x. Negative 36 divided by 6 is negative 6. And then those x's cancel out. So that's your answer. Okay, on these, the factoring, I'm only going to do 2 of them. So the main thing is that SOAP, same, opposite, always positive. We will give you the formulas or the patterns on the test. So this one, it starts off with a negative. So my parentheses need to start off with a negative. And then, so there's my same sign, my opposite sign, and then it's always positive. Okay, so the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 27 is 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So this is my a and my b. I'm going to square my a, so x squared. I'm going to square my b, 9. And then I'm just going to multiply these, 3x. And there's your answer. So once you've put all the signs down, you just ignore this. So be careful. This is not negative 3x. It's just 3 times x. All right, I'll do number 15. So this one starts off with a positive. So your parenthesis needs to be the same. Opposite, always positive. Okay, the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 1 is 1. So again, this is my a and my b. I'm going to square them. So x squared and then 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. And then I multiply them. 1 times x, it would just be an x. So again, there's your answer. A times b, a times b. All right, on the inside. On this one here, again, you're always looking for a GCF, so always look for that greatest common factor. So here I notice my greatest common factor is 2, and then also an x squared, okay? So on the inside, I would also have a, ignore that 2. So on the inside, I'm just trying to see what would I multiply to get back to that. So here, this would be an x squared minus x minus 2. Now, I notice that I can factor this even further. So what 2 numbers will multiply to get negative 2? And then add to get negative 1. So 2x squared. And then my parentheses here would be those 2 numbers. So I know that negative 2 and 1 will give me negative 2. And then when combined will also give me that negative 1. So x minus 2, x plus 1. So 18 is the same type of problem. All right, number 19, I'll do this one. I notice that there are 4 terms, so I can do factor by grouping. You must have those 4 terms. So here, I'm looking for my greatest common factor. On the first set of parentheses, it's 8x squared. And then on the inside here, I'd have 4x minus 5 minus, and then the greatest common factor of 4x and 5 is 1, and then 4x minus 5. So my first set of parentheses would be 8x squared minus 1, and then 4x minus 5. And again, this is the exact same way. Okay, perimeter, make sure you're adding all the sides. So for this one, you're just looking for combined like terms. Now this one can get a little trickier just because they're showing half of it, but just always remember perimeter is all the way around. So I'm going to label the sides just so I can see it clearly. Or you can always just double what you get here, double what you get here. Okay? So I'm just going to combine like terms. I notice that this has an x squared y, x squared y, x squared y, x squared y. So 3 and 3 is 6, minus 1 is 5, minus another 1 is 4. So 4x squared y. And then the rest of these are the xy's. So 6 plus 6 is 12, minus 2 is 10, minus another 2 is 8. So plus 8x y. Okay, this one's area. So with this one here, you're really just multiplying the length and the width. This would be a basic FOIL one, so you would just do 1 plus x times 2 plus 3x. And then this one over here would be x plus 2, and then 1 minus 4x plus 2x squared. So this is the same idea of what we did on the front with the multiplying polynomials. Just make sure you multiply everything, and then you just combine like terms. So check the answer key for those answers. All right, this one here, they're telling me the area of the base of a rectangular sandbox measures 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. The height of the sandbox measures 4x units. Determine the volume. Well, volume is length times width times height, or volume can equal the area of the base times the height. That L and that W represents that area. So I really just need to take that 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 and multiply it by 4x. So I have 4x times 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. That gives me 8x cubed plus 12x squared minus 8x. And there it is. All right, on the back, this is find the area of the shaded region. On these, the main idea is to really make sure that you take the area of that shaded and you subtract it from the area of unshaded. So for instance, to find the area of the shaded, I would do 2x squared plus 7 times 4x minus 3. Okay? If I were to multiply that out, I would get 8x cubed minus 6x squared plus 28x minus 21. So that would be the larger, so I'd write that over here. 8x cubed minus 6x squared plus 28x minus 21, put it in parentheses, minus. My unshaded would be these two, so I would do 3 times x minus 1, which just gives me 3x minus 3. So 3x minus 3. And again, you have to make sure you distribute that negative. Number one mistake. So this minus will become a plus, and then I'm just going to combine like terms. There's nothing to combine the cubed with. There's nothing to combine the squared with. 28 and negative 3x will give me 25x. And negative 21 and 3 gives me negative 18. So this represents the area of just the shaded part. I really should probably say this is the area of shaded or larger rectangle. That'd probably make it more precise. All right, this one here is definitely one of the more multi-layered questions. It says, a rectangular storage container has a volume of x cubed minus 2x squared minus 13x minus 10. The height of the container is x plus 2. What is the area of the base? So again, volume equals area of the base times the height. So if I'm trying to find this area, I have to divide the volume by the height, because the area of the base would equal v divided by h. So I'm going to set my problem up. X plus 2. And here I would have x cubed minus 2x squared minus 13x minus 10. All right, and then I'm just going to start dividing. This becomes an x squared, x cubed plus 2x squared. Okay, that turns into a negative. So negative 4x squared minus 13x. What do I multiply x by to get negative 4x squared? I multiply it by a negative 4x. Negative 4x times x is negative 4x squared. Negative 4x times 2 is negative 8x. First terms will always cancel out. This turns into a positive. So I have negative 5x. Drop that. Minus 10. What do I multiply x by to get negative 5x? Minus 5. So that gives me negative 5x. Minus 10, and there's no remainder. So my area is x squared minus 4x minus 5. So this is my area, which equals length times width. So now I need to factor this further to find the length and the width. So the length and the width are going to be factors. So what two numbers will multiply to -5 and add to -4? Well, -5 and 1. -5 times 1 is -5. -5 plus 1 is -4. So it's really easy. Here you could just do x minus 5 and x plus 1. Now, since length and width can be flip-flopped, you could flip these and your answer would still be correct. It just depends on how you look at length and width. All right, this last one here, Tesla has studied the number of Model X's and Model 3S that have been ordered over the past year and came up with the following model for each. Write a polynomial to model the total number of Model X and Model 3 vehicles that have been ordered over the past year. So pretty much I'm just combining like terms here. So for instance, 32 minus 4 is 28, so I'd have 28x squared. Negative 340 and negative 287 would give me negative 627x. And then if I add those, I get 11,500. Okay, that is most of the review, so that should give you a really good idea of what's on it. Remember, you may not use any sort of calculator on this one, but all the calculations should be pretty basic, and the answer key to this is also on the website. All right, I hope that helps you.